Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this lovely morning. First of all, I would like to welcome you to another broadcast of Bridging Hearts Marriage on Purpose. And we know today is going to be an awesome conversation. But I'd like to introduce myself, ourselves, should I say. I'm Jerry Jackson. This is my lovely wife, Rhonda Jackson. Peace. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. So, first of all, before we get started, just like you to just hit that like and share button. Go right ahead. We're gonna wait a few minutes,
A few minutes.
well, a few seconds. But no, truly, just hit that like and share button. We know that there may be people who maybe want to view this later, or there be maybe someone that you think may be interesting that may be helpful for them to see this podcast that
Yeah,
we're about to have today.
yeah. Because today we're going to talk about silence and how to break free from silence or
Suffering in silence.
suffering and silence, and how to break free from being silent and being okay with talking or discussing with your spouse when you want to talk about being silent. And so we know that there are a lot of people that suffer in silence. So that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah,
So,
so we're going to talk about some of the aspect of you know the effects of it and things that we can do to remedy it, should I say?
mhm.
How to understand it and identify when you're suffering in
Yeah,
silence,
yeah,
and also the effect that it has on you.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so today, we're talking about this is something that happens more often than we think when we say suffering in silence inside of a relationship. Many people, they're smiling in public, posting pictures together, going to church together,
Yes, sir.
building businesses together, but privately, they are carrying emotional pain
Yes.
and they never ever talk about it.
Yeah. And
So,
so to suffer in silence means to endure deep emotional pain, frustration, disappointment, anxiety, or loneliness without expressing it to your spouse.
yeah,
You know, and the dangerous part of this, you can physically be present in a relationship, but emotionally be absent at the same
yeah.
time.
Say that again, babe, because that was real good. That was really good.
You can physically be in a relationship, but emotionally absent at the same time.
Yeah, that means you can be in the same house, even sitting together like we are
Right.
right now, but be emotionally absent in a
Yeah.
relationship.
So,
And so, yeah, we were gonna talk about that today. So, yeah, let's get with it, okay? So, what does suffering in silence look like?
you know,
Right? Sometimes it looks like holding everything in to avoid arguments. You
hmm,
don't even want to talk about it because you just want to, you don't want to make them mad. And you don't want to be mad. You trying to, or it's disguised as I'm keeping the peace.
right.
That's not keeping the peace.
So, and then it's just feeling alone, even when you're married.
Hmm.
While you're married, should I say?
Hmm.
You're married, but you're still feeling alone. So you're suffering in silence in the part that you're in a relationship, but there's no connection
Right.
whatsoever.
Yeah. And unresolved issues building up over time.
Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, there's an emotional disconnect. You
Hmm.
know, you're smiling on the outside, but you're hurting on the inside.
Yeah.
So you wanted to talk about it,
They not
but
knowing
not
how.
knowing how.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing because you want to talk about certain things, but you really don't know how to talk about that. And we're going to discuss a little of that as we continue on through this conversation.
Yeah, and then over time, silence become distance. So we're going to talk about why do people suffer in silence? Why does this happen? And the number one reason why people suffer in silence, or I can just say one of the top reasons
Reason.
that people suffer in silence is fear of conflict. Some people stay quiet because they don't want another argument. They
Yeah.
think that if I bring this up, it's just going to get worse. So instead of dealing with the issue. They want to avoid it, but avoidance never heals anything.
That is so
Yeah.
true. And another thing is suffering silence is the fear of rejection or judgment. Many people are afraid that their spouse will be dismissed, that you don't really care about their feelings, you want to criticize them all the time, or you want to make them feel weak. You know, so they suppressed it. They hold
Yeah.
their emotions in because they don't want to feel like you're going to criticize them all the
Yeah.
time. So you just keep, just want to keep the peace. So
Yeah.
that's what you do.
Yeah. And another reason people suffer in silence because of cultural and social pressure. Some people were raised believing what's happened in this house stays in this house. How many times do we heard that
Right.
growing up? So it's just cultural. I mean, you're raised that way to keep quiet. Even telling children, stay in a child's place, don't say anything. And the Bible says, don't suffer a child to be silent. So you got to be able to, even in raising children, raising them up in a way, but they have a voice, because as they grow older, then they still think that they shouldn't speak, or they have consequences when they speak. And so they just deal with it quietly. So they suffer silently because they were taught silence equals strength. In some instances, as I was reading this, some instances silence does have strength, but not when you're suffering. So sometimes, like I just said, silence can equal strength, but not in this instance. Okay.
Right. And so, and just to piggyback, just want to remind you guys, what we're talking about today is suffering in silence
Yeah.
and how to break free from that.
Yes.
So, for those who may be just joining us in catching this broadcast, as we've been inside it for a few minutes, just want to remind you that the topic we're talking about is suffering in silence
Hmm.
and how to break it.
Yeah.
It's one of the things we just went through a few things that suffer in silence happen, and the effects
Why?
of it,
Yeah.
and why do we suffer
Hmm.
in silence. So another one is low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Sometimes people honestly feel like their feelings don't matter, they minimize their pain, and they convince themselves it's probably not that important
Hmm.
anyway.
Yeah.
So, and that's true, and that's because I can testify that I've been through majority of all of these things that we're talking about
Hmm.
today. uh, I was at a point where I was suffering in silence as well, with some of the same issues, and not really addressing it.
Hmm.
And you kind of really don't get a clear understanding on how it affects you. But we want to make sure that you get a great idea on how suffering in silence affects you. And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that a little bit more in detail as we continue on.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
another reason people suffer in silence is from past experiences. Maybe every time they opened up before, it ended badly. You know, so that could be from a past relationship. Again, how you
Yes.
were raised. So now silence feels safer, and then it's then vulnerability,
Mhm.
and then lack of communication skills. Some people suffer in silence because they don't have the right words to say. Some people was never taught how to express emotions in a healthy way. They feel it, but they cannot explain it. And it's like you feel it, but you can't explain it because you don't know how, because of a lack of communication skill. All you know is that it hurts, but you can't even explain what's really hurting.
Yeah. And another reason why you can really suffer inside is because you're hoping things would change. A lot of people keep waiting for things to magically improve, without having that difficult conversation.
Hmm.
But silence does not fix
Yeah.
brokenness. And we
Hmm.
have to understand that because we're broken, that's why. And being silent doesn't fix that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so now we want to talk about the consequences um, of suffering in silence. We talked about why people suffer in
In silence.
silence, but now we want to talk about the consequences in suffering in silence, because there are consequences when you don't talk about, your feelings, and talk about, what's going on. So silence eventually costs something. Emotional distress increases, anxiety and depression grows, resentment builds, intimacy decreases, emotional distance grows wider, and so and even physical health can even suffer from stress.
Yes.
So I think we're kind of going through this a little fast, and I kind of need to slow down so that you know what you're going through and why you're going through it. So we're going to slow down a bit. I'm sorry about that because it's really important that people really get it,
Yeah.
because some people don't even
No.
know that they're the remedy to what you're going through. All they know is this is life. This is regular for them to be going through this and don't even know that you're actually hurting yourself while you're not talking, or some people call it submission. They can hide it under that, I'm submitted. But no, you shouldn't be suffering. You should be
Hmm.
just as happy. Both of you should be happy in that relationship. Both of you should be healthy in that relationship. Both of you should be able to communicate in that relationship. And when you can't communicate because of fear, then you're suffering in silence. And so that's why we thought it was really important to talk about this and bring this to you so that you can identify the pain.
Yeah. And that's true because, like I say, the consequence of suffering
Hmm.
in silence is so deadly. It like I said, it's an emotional thing. You get anxiety, you get depression. Uh, your intimacy is affected. All of this is a great part.
Hmm.
And another thing is stress doesn't just affect your mind; it affects your whole body.
Wow.
And statistics says stress affects different parts. It affects the brain and your mental health.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, how it affects that, it creates anxiety, depression, brain fog, and either interruption in your sleep. You're not sleeping well at
Yeah.
night. You're constantly staying up. You're constantly being
Yeah.
think worrying about this, worried about that, because you're
You're too
suffering in
much on your
silence. There's
mind.
too
Yeah.
much in your mind, so it interrupts your sleep.
Hmm.
You fall into a deep depression when you're suffering in silence.
Yeah. And it affects your heart health. These are statistics that we looked up, and like, what does stress really do to the body?
Hmm.
And it affects your heart health, and it raises blood pressure, increases strain on the heart. And so, sometimes you got heart palpitations, high blood pressure, low blood pressure. And so it can all be due to stress in your body.
Right, because you can have that high blood pressure, and a lot of people associate the high blood pressure with what we're eating.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just stress
Mhm.
that raises your blood pressure, that increase the stress on your heart.
Mhm.
So you have to be mindful when you suffer in silence. These are some effects that would happen when you suffer in silence and hold it in and don't let it out, or find an avenue where you can release it.
Yeah.
It affects your immune system as well.
Mhm.
It weakens you. Your body's not it doesn't have the ability to fight off sickness and diseases. So when we say that suffering in silence is deadly, that is deadly because you don't have the capacity or the ability to fight off disease because you're so stressed out
Yeah.
that your immune system
It's
it gets
just.
thrown off.
Yeah.
It shuts down.
Mhm.
Now it can't fight the diseases and the sickness that's out there that comes upon you. Where
Mhm.
your immune system, when it's healthy and you don't have all the stress, it can fight it off. But when you have someone that's weak, and that's just like if you go into battle. I mean, you go into battle, if you going in there, if you physically strong, you have the armor on, you can stand. Where if you go there, you have I'm not feeling well, I'm sick, I don't have the armor. Now you're fighting. Now guess what? You can become deadly
Mhm.
because you can lose.
Mhm.
So you really have to be mindful of that.
Yeah, and it also affects your physical health. It can lead to fatigue, headaches, digestive issues, weight gain. Yeah. So you can
Yeah.
say he makes me fat, weight gain, and muscle tension. So all this are indicators of suffering in silence or stress in the body because you're suffering in silence. So
Yeah.
again, unmanaged stress doesn't stay in your thoughts. It eventually shows up in
Your
your body.
body.
And
And that
so
is
it's
so
sometimes you can actually see it on people as well. But you know, sometimes people hide it well too. Like we said at the beginning of the broadcast, we you can be on here, we can be on here posting and showing
yeah.
photos and my man, knowing that
Yeah.
he's stressing you
Yeah.
out. Going to church together,
Yeah.
and doing different things together, but inwardly you're really stressed out and you're suffering in silence because you can't talk about it because you're afraid to talk
Yeah.
about it.
We
So
want put on a facade
yeah,
that
yeah,
we're doing well, but we're not communicating at home. We're not, expressing how we feel or any of that,
yeah,
and it becomes a stress on us,
yeah,
and it affects us totally. We can, like I said, we can be out in public sometime, and we want to be all like my wife said, we're posting pictures and all
hmm,
that, but you're putting on a facade
yeah,
because you really are suffering inside the home because you can't really express how you're feeling
yeah,
because you're thinking about an argument that may take place that
hmm,
he may not or she may not understand what you're saying. They may criticize you,
hmm,
so you rather be silent in that moment
hmm,
opposed to bringing it out and having a conversation.
yeah. And can I add this? I was just thinking. Sometimes I know when we first got married, and this was my second marriage, his third marriage, and I felt like I needed to stay safe, and so I wouldn't bring things up because I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want uh, an argument, and I just wanted to be safe. I didn't want to fight, and so a lot of things I didn't bring up because of like we talked about earlier, because of past experiences. And so, but you got to feel, we're going to talk about how to break free to be able to communicate and be able to talk about, what it is so that you won't suffer in silence. But because I didn't feel safe enough to uh, talk about it, then that can be a barrier too because of something that you're still going through. But that's why we really want to talk about this because this is something that we both went through, and so we were just playing it safe. It was no arguments really. The first year of marriage, we was playing it real safe. Okay, babe. Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And he didn't even start telling me no until like the third year. I'm like, whoa, you're learning new words. What's going on? But we were just playing it safe, really. But you cannot continue to hide behind safe in marriage. You gotta have that communication.
Right. You definitely have to do that.
Hmm.
And once again, just for those who may be joining us at this point, we're talking about suffering in silence
Hmm.
and how to break free from that. And we talked about, some of the things that will show up in being suffer in silence. Some of the consequences behind when you suffer in
Hmm.
silence, some of the things that you would go through. And we're going to be talking about now at this point, how to break free.
Yeah.
And just staying in vain with this. My wife was just talking about how we, through the first year, so we really just didn't want to rock the boat, so we
Yeah.
were
We're
just
just
really
skating
was
right
just
through it.
skating
Yeah.
right through, and that's and some of that is a learned behavior,
Yeah.
and I can testify that I was previous relationship I was kind of like that,
Hmm.
didn't really want to rock the boat, didn't want to make an issue, was feeling that I was being criticized if I said something. And so it's not something that's going to happen overnight. So it's something that you have to learn and grow
Hmm.
into to develop that as well. So, but understanding is what we're trying to get you to see. Understanding what it is,
Yes.
why it happens,
Right.
and how to break free from
Correct.
that.
Hmm.
This is the point that we want to get across because I believe at some point we all have been in that situation
Yeah.
where we suffered in silence
Yeah.
and really not really expressing how we truly feel, thinking that we may be criticized or we may be ostracized or we just may not be understood. So
Hmm.
we rather to to create a huge conflict, I'd rather just be quiet
Yeah.
in that moment and suffer in that, because then, like I said, that takes a big effect, not only emotionally on you and your mind, but also your body, because it affects your body. It affects how your body operates. It affects how your body defends itself from sickness and diseases. So suffering silent has a deadly effect on you if you continue to let it grow and fester.
Yeah. And so now, yeah, that was good. So we
Mhm.
want to talk about how to break free from suffering and silence. One, you want to create a safe communication. So both people need to feel safe enough to speak honestly without fear or attack. Sometimes your spouse isn't silent because they don't care. They are silent because they don't feel safe. So you have to create a safe environment. So like I was saying, that first year we were skating through marriage, and it was lovey dovey, yeah. But certain things, you choose your battles. Okay, he keep the toilet seat up. Okay. I remember that time we had an argument. I was thinking about this the other day. uh like, you let it up. I'm like, why would I let the toilet seat up? How you gonna tell me I let it up? I'm like, I only let it up when I clean the toilet. I don't just let it up.
Maybe she was cleaning it.
but so it's okay to have, you don't have to stay safe because you can't live in safe, because you two different. You're a man, I'm a woman, he's a man, so you cannot just stay safe. You're going to have differences, but it's okay to talk about these differences. But you got to create a safe place to be able to have these type of discussions, because if you don't, like my husband was just saying, and we were talking about the statistics. I'm telling you, the statistics. You're going to end up suffering in your body because you're holding all these things in. So we gotta create safe place, a safe environment to be able to have these type of conversations, right?
Another thing, you have to learn how to listen without defending.
Okay.
Every conversation is not an attack. So you
Hmm.
have to understand that every conversation that you have is not an attack on you. It's just being able to understand it. You know,
Yeah.
because sometimes your spouse may simply need to be heard.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, and that's the issue I think that a lot of us have too. A lot of us just want to be heard, not
Hmm.
necessary for you to correct it, but
Hmm.
just to be heard. That
Yeah.
you know that you hear me and you understand.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's another conversation. Like when you saying you want to be heard, and we were talking about that a bit last week. And like when we're communicating, it don't seem like it's really making any sense, and you're not being heard. And we got to stop and even ask them, our spouse, like, okay, what do you want me to hear?
Mhm.
Because it's obvious I'm not hearing what you're trying to say. And without raising your voice, you don't have to raise your
Mhm.
voice, nor do you have to. Uh, Sometimes you don't understand. To be honest with you, sometimes you don't understand, but at the same time, you just have to communicate that I'm not. I tell my husband all the time, I'm not understanding what you're saying here. How do this look? Because I'm not understanding what you're saying.
Right? Because you say this is this is what I'm understanding
Hmm.
from you,
Yeah.
from what you're saying to me, but I
Hmm.
need to know what you want me to understand from what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's a big part, because men and women think differently.
Yeah.
So we may
Way different.
oh,
Tell them what just happened. Tell them what just happened. Oh my
we're
God.
gonna we're gonna get an example of
Okay.
this. We're,
Yeah.
we're gonna get an example of this. My wife
Yes.
said she was hot.
Right.
So she said, "Can you turn the air on?"
Uh huh.
So my thing is, she's hot. So
Right.
let me turn the air on.
Uh huh.
So I turned both. We have two units
Uh huh.
in the building, in the room. I turned both units on,
On what
and I
temperature?
put it on a 60, like 67. And all of a sudden, why you turn it on? I'm cold. I'm like, well, my understanding was you were cold, that you needed the
That was
air on,
hot. Yeah.
that you was hot, that you needed the air on.
Yeah.
So I turned the air on.
Yeah.
But her understanding and my understanding were totally different.
Correct.
Because I'm like, you cold? You hot? Let me turn the air on so you can get.
Now I'm freezing, right? One, but the first thing, we never turn our air on 67, never. And then both of them, I'm like, oh my God.
But that's where
Yeah.
my understanding of her being cold, being hot, and me turning the air on was different from
Yeah.
her understanding
Yeah,
that she was
just
hot
turn
and
the
she
air.
needed the air on.
Yeah.
So that's
Just make it comfortable, honey.
see, but see, that was her
Mhm.
that was her understanding
Yeah.
that she wanted to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, my understanding was that she was hot,
Yeah.
that she wanted to get cooled down. So that's why I turned it on. But that's where the communication coming in, where you what do I need to this is how I'm understanding this. What do you want me to understand what you're discussing?
Yeah.
So and I didn't take offense to it
Yeah.
because we think differently.
Yeah.
So but I need to know
Very.
what understanding you're trying to get across, because we think differently. And my understanding may not necessarily be the understanding that you're trying to portray.
Yeah.
It's just how I perceived it. But I didn't take offense to it when
Yeah.
she said, and all I said was really that, hey, you should have told me you only want one on. I would have just turned the one on. But
I just wanted to be comfortable.
just when you go. But see,
I didn't want to freeze.
but if you get what we're saying,
Mhm.
that's where the communication comes in. That's where the understanding each other, understanding how they're thinking and how you're thinking,
Yeah.
and not get offended when they express really this is how I want you to, this is what this is making me feel.
Yeah.
So, and not get offended by it.
Right. Because that's why we were saying create a safe environment. Because, I mean, that could have went left. Like, you turn it off yourself. I
Yeah.
just got up and turned it on. You want me to get up and turn it off? You need to do that yourself. I don't know what you want. But, it's like, but we had to talk through it. And, it's like deer, and I even told them, I'm like, men, they either here or they're there. It's like no in between with me. It's like, no, women, you either here or there. But we just, it ends up like a joke or, a laughing matter because we are different. But it's okay to be different. But you got to be able to create a safe space to where you can talk through those differences, right?
Yeah, because she could have just got mad and just moved in and turned it off.
Yeah.
And looked at me all funny out the corner.
Let's just do this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So again, we talk about how to break free
from suffering and
from
silence.
suffering and silence. And so number 3 would be,
one of the things is you want to build trust again.
Mhm.
You want to, trust grows when people feel that they feel and they're seen and they're heard and they're understood consistently.
yeah,
And that's the thing that we talked about, what we feel one another.
Mhm.
We feel that we can really talk to one another and we can understand one another. And we try to do that consistently.
yeah,
So that's why the trust is really there, because we're building that constantly, where we're feeling like we're being heard. We're
Mhm.
feeling, that we're being seen and not just there and not even being heard, but being heard, being seen, and all of that,
yeah,
and being consistent with that. So you have to build that trust, and that's going to help you break free from suffering and silence.
yeah. And then it builds when you start talking about even the small things like,
Mhm.
why do you leave the toilet seat up? Or, why you leave your socks on the floor? So these are just small things that you need to understand. And, to be honest with you, he still leave the toilet seat up sometimes. But now it don't even bother me. I just let it down, but it doesn't bother me anymore. But if I never address the issue or address that he does leave it up sometimes, then it probably would bother me. But it would be just deep-seated resentment, like, oh my God. And then so I'd be mad every time I went to the washroom, right? So, but we talked about it, we talked through it. And then so you talk through some of these smaller things. So
Mhm.
then when the bigger issues arise, you're able to talk through that easier because you already have that line of communication open and you have that safe environment that has been established. So you're able to talk through things better,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But like you said, you stop pretending that everything is
Yeah,
fine.
right.
When it's not, it's not.
Hmm.
Healing starts when you're honest.
Hmm.
When honesty begins, when
Yeah.
you're honest, then that's when healing is going to start.
Hmm.
You cannot heal what you continue to hide.
Wow.
So if you hide it, you
Hmm.
can't get healed from it.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to expose. You have to be able to talk about it. You have to be able to show or explain what's going on, or that it's not fine, but this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Because when you hide that, it's not healthy for you.
Right. It's not. And you know what? If you're still having problems with these different things that we're talking about on how to break free from, now that you know what suffering in silence looks like and you know what it does to your body, and now we're giving you tips on how to break free, and you feel like you still can't break free from that, now it's probably time to seek help.
Mhm.
Sometimes couples just need a therapist, a mentor, a pastor, a relationship coach. You need help to get that will help guide you into a healthy conversation. And it's always strength in getting help. It's not nothing to be embarrassed about, nothing to be ashamed about, but
Mhm.
it is something that you need to make sure that you do so that you can be healthy inside and out.
That's true. And just so you know, breaking silence, it takes time, especially when someone has been emotionally shut down for
For
years. So if
years.
you've been in this type of episode for years, it could take some time for
Hmm.
you, and you have to understand that, and you have to be able to have honest conversation with your spouse and talk to them regarding that, because if they don't understand, or if they don't know what you're suffering
Yeah.
in, it can go another route, because
Yeah.
they can just assume that you are angry, that you are disgruntled, that you're just all of this,
You're
when it's
introvert,
when it's truly
quiet.
right.
Yeah.
Because when you suffer in silence, it has to go somewhere.
Hmm.
It has to go somewhere.
Oh,
So
wow.
suffering silence, it slowly destroys the connection, and many relationships are not ending because of lack of love. They're ending because of lack of communication.
Wow.
So if you've been suffering in silence, and this is your sign to stop carrying emotional weight alone.
Yeah.
Communication may feel uncomfortable, but silence is costing you too much.
Yeah.
Too much it is
Hmm.
costing you.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that, because when you silence
Hmm.
in that point, it's gonna cost you an emotional thing. It's gonna cost you physically.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to not suffer in silence.
Yeah. And this is really important. You know, you really probably don't know why you're feeling unhappy. You don't know why you're feeling unsafe. I was at that place before. I just didn't feel safe. And or you just may feel like what we said earlier, that you're married but still feeling alone,
Mhm.
and these are all indicators that you're suffering in silence. And so again, we ask that you will listen to this podcast again, just to get these pointers to find out, if is that me, am I feeling this way, why am I feeling this way, how can I break free from feeling like this. And or if you know of anybody that may be going through this, feel free to share this as well. And those of you that has just entered into a relationship and not yet married, these are some of the conversations that you may need to have even before you're married, because you don't want to go into a marriage where you're feeling like a victim, or you're feeling like you can't even talk, because that's emotional stress, and it's abuse. It's emotional abuse. So abuse is not always physical, you all,
It's
but
not.
it's emotional as well and mental. And I think that's the worst kind because you thinking something's wrong with you when really, it's something wrong with the relationship that needs to be fixed.
Right.
Yeah, you need to be fixed, but the relationship need to be fixed, and you should be able to communicate whatever is making you feel like you're not you don't have peace. You
Right.
need to be able to communicate that.
Because we talked about, we talked about suffering in silence and how to break that, and the effect that the consequences in having being suffering in silence.
Hmm.
And you have to first and foremost evaluate yourself.
Yeah.
You have to do a self evaluation to
Hmm.
really determine the things that are happening, because we talked about other things about, there's an issue of what
Hmm.
we're so much
Oh,
concentrating on what opposed to why.
yeah.
So why is this happening? Why am I feeling this way? Or, as opposed to what happened, what didn't happen.
Hmm.
Why am I feeling this way? So you have to self-exam yourself as well.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's it, you all. And another thing I was just thinking of as my husband was even talking, be careful and don't, when your spouse is bringing something to you, saying something that, because they feel safe enough to communicate with you, don't come back with, well, because you always, so I did this because I knew you were going to. That's not the time to bring up what they're doing. That's the time that you need to lean in, listening to what they have to say, and address that particular issue at hand. Because if they always, or if you already had an issue that you didn't bring up before they bringing something to
Mhm.
you, then you gotta think of another time, come up with another time where you can address the issue that you need to talk about. Don't talk about that issue when they're bringing you what they need you to hear.
Yeah,
You
true.
just addressing that issue, not something like, well, yeah, okay, we can do that, but you,
Mhm. Mhm.
that's
Right.
not good. And that will lead to an argument in a place where you don't feel safe and sharing because you reacting like as a victim, and you shouldn't even act like that. You should just take what they're saying and then talk through that issue.
Right.
Right?
And like I said, we don't advocate verbal abuse or anything like that. So we're not saying that sit there and verbal
Right.
abuse. We're not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just be mindful of what's being said
Yeah.
and how it's said,
Yeah.
in every situation,
Yeah.
you know, and understand the why
Right.
opposed to the what.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. But listen, you all, please, 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 if you feel like you need someone to talk to or you have questions, comments, if you don't want to put your comment inside the comment section, that's fine. But you can inbox us as well, and we'll be more than free to talk to you during that time because this is serious. It's
Yeah.
serious, and people. I mean, you deserve to live your best life
Right.
for real. Not on social media, but you need to live your best life once you come off of social media. Once you leave church, once you leave your business, you should be living your best life.
That's so true.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's it, you are. And so we want to remind you that we do have something coming up. Where is it? We do have something coming up September 26th through October 1st. We are doing it again. We are doing it
Yeah.
again. And so we are boarding the Carnival Breed on September 26th through October 1st. It's a 5-day cruise to Mexico, Cozumel, and Port
Yucatan.
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 Yeah, in
Yes.
Mexico. So yeah, we're gonna be doing it again, you all. And these cruises, the cabins are like $300. The inside cabinets are like 300 some odd dollars, and then the balconies are going for anywhere between $500 and $700. But this is for 5 days, you all, in Mexico. We are cruising. We're leaving out of Galveston, Texas, and you all, we always have a bunch of fun. And it's really a nice getaway, and it's time to get together with other couples and positive conversation, a positive vibes, and we always have a really good time every time we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, so it's a much needed break
Yes.
as well.
Mhm.
It's a place where you can reconnect and you can enjoy love,
Yeah.
and then just find out why you even joined together the first time.
Yeah, it's a
So
good
a
reminder. Yeah.
reminder.
Hmm.
So let's do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's really good, you all. So and we have so much fun. We have so much fun. We do surprise giveaways, all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just really nice getting with other couples. They genuinely love one another. We have breakout sessions with the men and the women, separately. And then we come back together and we have surprises. But yeah, we do a lot, and it's a lot of fun. It's a
Yes,
lot
it
of
is
fun.
a lot of fun.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's it, you all. But thanks so much for coming on to Bridging Hearts. We do appreciate you tuning in. We would love to talk to you through this, because this was kind of like a tough subject, but we just want people to be happy. You deserve to live your best life.
Right.
Okay?
We desire no one to suffer in silence.
Yeah.
That is our theme and our goal. We desire no one to suffer in silence. We want everyone to be free and be able to enjoy and love their relationship with their spouse.
Yeah. Because marriage is good.
Yeah.
It's a gift from God, and it should be good. It should be good. Right? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So that's it. Thank you all
Thank you
so
guys for
much for
joining us.
coming on. We do appreciate you. And once again,
Please
Jerry,
like and share.
yeah, like and share. Follow us on YouTube, Jerry and Rhonda Jackson. We appreciate you, and y'all take care.
Take care.
God bless.
God bless.
To the prayers late at night. We know love's a battle, but we're still holding tight. Got a card game to spark up the flame again. Reignite the fire with your lifelong friend. Love is a gift, oh, straight from above. Designed for his purpose, sealed with his love. Every tear, every laugh, every baby, I'm sorry. It's all part of the story.